Our first speaker in this final block tackles one of the most stubborn challenges in high performance, the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it consistently. With 10 back-to-back marathons, 3 100-mile ultra marathons, and an Ironman to his name, here's George Anderson with his keynote, Bridging the Gap from Knowing to Doing, How High Performers Build Consistent Habits Under Pressure. George.
Thank you, Wazim. What if I could give you the secret recipe for unlimited energy? Yeah, any takers for that? Sounds pretty awesome. Unlimited energy. We're not just talking physical energy here either. We're talking emotional energy and mental energy. Just imagine how much you get done in the day. Just imagine how you'd feel. That sense of balance and calm as well. Unlimited energy. Now, I've been doing this for long enough to know that even if you really wanted to believe that in the next 10 minutes I could give you this secret formula, you might still have a healthy skepticism for such a claim, and you'd be right to do so as well. I'm not going to give you the secret formula for unlimited energy, I'm afraid. Sorry to disappoint. But what I can tell you, however, is that one thing I've seen for certain is that there are many people at the moment who are feeling completely maxed out. Not necessarily burned out, but right there at the limits. Just the other week, I was working with a construction firm, a tech company, and a Formula One team, and they all said the same thing. The pace of life right now is wild, right? I'm sure you're seeing it as well. I've never known anything like it. We've got this relentless bombardment of information and stimulation. They adopt AI, adapt to new technology. And that's all against this backdrop of just this mad world that we're living in right now. And the most commonly cited fear that I'm hearing at the moment is, as we know that this pace is just going to keep on getting more ferocious and fast, is, am I going to be able to keep up? And one of the challenges here is that in this environment that we're operating in at the moment, what we need, the biggest differentiator in business at the moment, now more than ever, is our ability to maintain composure against this continual and permanent pressure. But composure requires capacity, this ability to make decisions, to solve problems. We need capacity, not more time, but more energy. And I don't think that it's a huge stretch to say that the key to sustainable high performance is managing your energy. Now, all of us on this virtual call today, I'm sure, have experienced this connection firsthand, probably as recently as this week. Who's had a bad night's sleep in the last 7 days? Probably most of us. What did that do to your resilience the next day, or your focus, or your sense of motivation? Right? And that's just sleep. Right? Research shows us that everything from our diet and gut health to our activity levels and our physical fitness has an impact on our energy and our professional performance. But if we know what energizes us and what drains our energy, then why don't we just do more of those things? And this is the biggest frustration that my clients have come to me with over the years. They say, George, I already know what to do, but I just don't do it. Sound familiar? And it's even more frustrating when you know that you're so capable of consistency and dedication in the workplace, yet you struggle to show up for yourself. And there's a reason for that, by the way, because you see, work, that runs on essential effort. Like, you have to deliver. People are relying on you, and there are consequences if you don't. When it comes to well-being or energy or any personal goals for that matter, that runs on discretionary effort. Like, no one's going to come and confiscate your phone if you're still scrolling at 10 p.m. or send the boys round if you skip a workout. You have to decide again and again and again to make those choices. And that is why consistency, why bridging the gap between knowing and doing can feel so hard. And one of the things that I've enjoyed doing over the course of the last few years has been doing some coaching on an executive leadership program at a business school. And there was one guy who I worked with a couple of years ago called Artem Seledstov that his story was just so remarkable. I wanted to share with you now. In fact, I invited him onto my podcast to interview him because it was just so fascinating. For the first 10 years of Artem's life, his career rather, he was a finance guy, living a fairly typical finance guy kind of lifestyle. And with the hustle, the parties, the travel, the deep work, the classic "I'll sleep when I'm dead" approach to well-being. And he told me about this pivotal tipping point moment in his life when he was about 30 years old. And he said he woke up one morning and he couldn't get out of bed. Well, he could, but it took a concerted and not inconsiderable effort to swing his legs over the side of the bed and haul himself up to standing. He became so out of shape and deconditioned and immobile that it took this effort. And it was a moment for him where he realized he was so exhausted and scared, actually. And he said to himself, geez, if this is what it's like when I'm at 30, I'm not even going to make it to the age of 40. And that was the moment something had to change. But the pace of life wasn't about to slow down for him. He was still in the same fast-paced hustle culture, and he still had the same levels of ambition that he'd always had. That wasn't about to be something he would compromise upon, but he still had to make those changes. He stopped drinking. He started exercising a bit more regularly. He researched nutrition and began to prioritize his sleep. And what started off being really hard eventually gradually became just something that he did. It was just a part of who he was. Now he's in his 40s, so spoiler alert, he made it. And he's running a global sales team in a large fintech organization. He's fitter and has more energy than most of his team who are in their 20s and 30s. Now, when I hear stories like that of somebody who's transformed their life, I'm in awe, right? It's just remarkable. But most of us just see the success and not the struggle. We look at people like that and think, well, they must be different or special. It's all right for you, mate. If you knew what it was like to live my life, it's all right for you, but I couldn't do something like that. And what we do is we open up this gap between where we are and our potential. And I get it as well, by the way. I've done this before. A couple of years maybe before I did any of those ultra marathons that you heard about in the introduction there, I had this belief ultra marathons and big adventures like that was for other people. I couldn't do something like that. And it took somebody asking me the question, why not you, George? To start shifting my thinking away from the reasons why I couldn't to, well, how can I anyway? And I think when you start to shift your thinking like that, you start moving away from reasons to constraints. It starts to move you from focusing on the problems and looking for the solutions. So what is it that means somebody like Artem can perform so consistently with those habits, even under periods of intense pressure? And I think there's a lot of different things. There's certainly a big handful of them anyway. And there's two that I want to quickly share with you this afternoon. The first of them is, as I've already mentioned, it's this belief that there is a connection between behaviors and energy and performance, and that the key to sustainable high performance is indeed managing your energy. I remember when I was a personal trainer and the clients who came to me and they'd say, they were the best at sticking to the changes we were making. They'd come with the same goals as everybody else, lose weight, tone up, get fit, get healthy. But they had made this connection and they realized that by making these changes, it also had a positive impact on their performance and experience of life, their focus, their ability to maintain calm in the chaos, and even their relationships. So if performing under pressure at a consistent level is important to you, then it just makes sense to start looking at how you can cultivate this skill of managing your energy. And the second thing is about this recognition that consistency doesn't mean perfection. I think there's this big myth with consistency that means these heroic levels of self-discipline and willpower, or an unwavering and non-negotiable adherence to the plan. But the reality is a lot more boring and mundane than that, in fact. And again, one more story to share with you from a few years ago now, when I decided that I wanted to make professional speaking a more significant part of my career. But I knew it was going to be tough. I knew it was going to be hard, a lot of ghosting, a lot of ego battering rejections. And I knew I wasn't going to be motivated to stick to the process. So what I did was I committed to recording a short video every single day to say, what have I done today to move me closer towards my goals? Some days it was presenting a workshop or a keynote. Others it was being on a call with a prospect. And some days it was just, I posted on LinkedIn or watched a TED Talk. But what I learned over 1,800 consecutive days of doing this was that consistency wasn't being perfect or because I was motivated, but it was because I made it almost impossible to fail. Consistency doesn't mean perfection, showing up the same every single day. It means showing up and doing some version of the habit on a consistent basis. Consistency is about self-compassion. It's about flexible habits, and it's about committing to getting back on track at the next logical point. Now, I can't give you the secret recipe for unlimited energy, but what I can promise you is that you have it within yourself to increase your capacity so that you have more bandwidth, more composure, so that you can consistently perform and feel at your best. Thank you.